Welcome back to Football Daily, where with the domestic season now firmly in the rear-view mirror, it's time to bring you our top 10 moments of the 2020-21 campaign. Let's go. 10. Real Sociedad end their trophy drought. Real Sociedad had been trophyless since a Copa del Rey victory in 1987, and last season it looked like their best opportunity to end that drought. After defeating Real Madrid in the 2019-20 quarter-finals, they were drawn against second-tier Mirandes, who they also dispatched to set up a date with Basque rivals Athletic Bilbao on April the 18th, 2020. But of course, the pandemic put the final on hold indefinitely, with the new date eventually being set as April the 3rd, 2021, towards the end of the following season. Playing at La Cartuja in Seville, the game itself was quite a turgid affair, with just 11 shots total between the two sides. But midway through the second half, the only goal was scored from the spot by Mikel Oyarzabal, winning the competition for Imanol Alguacil's side. Glory for La Real, but Spera fought for Athletic too. Just 2 weeks later, they played the 2021 final against Barcelona, losing that one as well. Double heartbreak in Bilbao. Not that their Basque neighbours are fussed, picking up their first trophy in 34 years. 9. Manchester United 9, Southampton 0. Of course, number 9 marks the match that equalled the biggest ever victory in the Premier League, 9-0. This came not even 18 months after Southampton lost to Leicester City by the same scoreline, whilst Manchester United have now won 2 matches by this result, 26 years after their triumph over Ipswich. Ralph Hasenhuttl's side may have been missing 9 first-team players due to injury, but no one could have predicted this outcome, despite the early warnings. Midfielder Alex Jankovic, making his first start for the Saints, was sent off within the first 2 minutes, and by half-time it was 4-0. Wan-Bissaka, Rashford and Cavani the scorers, along with a Bednarek own goal. Che Adams thought he'd spared Southampton's blushes, but saw his strike ruled out for offside just after the break. And with 20 minutes to go, the floodgates opened. Martial and McTominay made it 6, and Bednarek received a red card that would later be rescinded with 4 minutes remaining. Down to 9 men, the Saints were powerless to prevent Fernandes, James and Martial again from finding the net, rounding off a result that will live in infamy for both clubs. Manchester United 9, Southampton 0. 8. Spurs 3, West Ham 3. From one record-breaking game to another, as Jose Mourinho's Tottenham Hotspur looked to build on a solid start to the season at home to London rivals West Ham United, who were expecting to battle relegation. Son Heung-min opened the scoring after just 45 seconds, and 15 minutes later, 2 Harry Kane goals meant the Lily Whites were already 3-0 up, and expected to cruise home with all 3 points. But that wasn't to be, as Balbuena pulled a goal back for the Hammers in the 82nd minute, before a Davinson Sanchez own goal. Then, with the final kick of the game, Manuel Lanzini fired home from 25 yards to secure a point for David Moyes' side, completing a remarkable comeback, the latest 3-goal comeback in the Premier League ever. This was very much the catalyst for West Ham's season, as they would ultimately go on to defy all expectations and qualify for European football, finishing above Spurs in the process. As for their North London counterparts, a brief spell at the top gave promise, but a later run of just 1 win in 6 saw them drop out of Champions League contention, ultimately costing Jose Mourinho his job again. 7. Lille's Ligue 1 triumph. Any French side that manages to overcome a force as dominant as Paris Saint-Germain in the last decade deserves a mention, and Lille have managed just that. Le Parisien may be struggling with the 82nd points they managed, their lowest since losing their title to Montpellier in 2011-12, but that doesn't detract from Lille's feat. The key result was of course Le Dogs' 1-0 victory over their title rivals in early April, with Jonathan David's strike opening up a 3-point lead with just a handful of games remaining. David notched 13 goals this campaign, but the surprise star up top was 35-year-old Turkish international Burak Yilmaz, who scored 16 in his first ever season in a top European league. And defensively, Christophe Gautier's side were outstanding too, with goalkeeper Mike Magnon keeping 21 clean sheets. He was protected by one of Europe's brightest talents, 21-year-old Sven Botman, alongside a wizened Jose Font, 16 years his senior. A truly remarkable achievement for the club, but the real work starts now if they want to retain their unlikely title. 6. Champions League final. This past weekend, the 2021 Champions League final took place between Chelsea and Manchester City. The game itself wasn't a pulsating affair, with the sides managing just 15 attempts on goal between them, as the sole Kai Havertz strike was enough for Thomas Tuchel's side to lift the trophy for the second time in their history. But in some ways, the story was more than just what happened on the pitch in those 90 minutes. In such a heavily affected campaign, just 25 of the 124 matches from the group stage onwards were played in front of a crowd, whilst every knockout fixture was played behind closed doors. To see almost 15,000 people inside the Estadio do Dragão in Portugal, it felt truly like football was back to its best. In fact, to have reached the climax of the competition with minimal disruption was a minor miracle in itself. Just 2 of the total 172 matches scheduled had to be cancelled due to the pandemic, both of which came in the first qualifying round back in August. Chelsea came away as champions, and deservedly so, but to enjoy the competition as a whole was something special. 5. Sunday the 4th of October 2020. This date might seem like any ordinary autumn day, but in the Premier League, history was about to be made. Liverpool and Manchester United are the 2 most successful clubs in English football history, but this October afternoon would be the first time that both clubs conceded at least 6 goals on the same day. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's side fell 6-1 to Jose Mourinho's Spurs, where despite a second-minute goal from Fernandes, the Old Trafford club found themselves 3 goals behind at half-time. Braces from Son Heung-min and Harry Kane were supplemented by Tanguy Ndombele and Serge Aurier, as United suffered their joint heaviest defeat in the competition's history. But that's not where the shocks would stop, as up in the Midlands, Aston Villa would also find themselves with a 4-1 half-time lead over reigning champions Liverpool in a match that ultimately finished 7-2, with Watkins netting a first-half hat-trick and Grealish scoring 2 and setting up 3 more. This was the first time Liverpool had conceded 7 in a game since 1963. A crazy day indeed that would set the tone for the rest of the Premier League season perfectly. 4. Robert Lewandowski. Everyone knows how lethal Robert Lewandowski is, with the 32-year-old having netted over 500 career goals for club and country, with 269 of them coming since the start of the 2015-16 campaign. But the last 2 seasons he's somehow kicked it up a notch, scoring 55 in all competitions in 1920, before breaking what many thought was an unbeatable record this year. The Polish international netted 41 Bundesliga goals, one more than what legendary German forward Gerd Müller managed for Bayern back in 1971-72. Lewandowski now has 6 Bully top scorer awards, just 1 short of Müller, and you wouldn't bet against him equalling that in 12 months' time. Finding the back of the net every 60 minutes, notching 4 hat-tricks and not scoring just 4 league games, it was inevitable the record would be broken, although injury in March delayed it, to the point where it almost didn't happen at all. On the final day of the season, Lever finally scored goal 41 in the final minute of a 5-2 victory over Augsburg. Maybe he'll get that Ballon d'Or he deserves this year instead. 3. That Alisson goal. A goalkeeper finding themselves on the scoresheet is a rare yet glorious moment. It often means a last-minute equaliser or winner to keep their side in contention for something, and that was no different when Alisson found the back of the net for Liverpool against West Brom. His 95th minute header meaning the Reds' Champions League ambitions were kept alive with a 2-1 victory. In the process, the 28-year-old became the first ever Liverpool goalkeeper to score a goal, as well as both the first header and first match winner scored by a goalkeeper in the Premier League era. But for Alisson, the goal felt much bigger than just football. Having lost his father in a drowning accident in Brazil in February, the Seleção stopper has been unable to return home to visit his family due to coronavirus restrictions. Dedicating the goal to his father, he did his best to sum up his emotions right here.
Football is my life. I play since I remember as a human being with my father. I hope he was here to see it, but I'm sure that he's seeing with the crowd on his side and celebrating. 2.
The rise and fall of the ESL. There has not been a more turbulent 48 hours in recent football history than the announcement and apparent collapse of the European Super League. Made public in mid-April, this proposal would have seen 15 founding members break away from UEFA and the Champions League, with a further 5 clubs rotating in and out of the 20-team competition. The 12 teams involved were Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United and Spurs from England. Atletico Madrid, Barcelona and Real Madrid in Spain, and Italian clubs AC Milan, Inter and Juventus. The reception was icy to say the least, with every major competition and football governing body condemning the decision, whilst Bayern, Dortmund and PSG all rejected their involvement in the venture. Fan protests occurred throughout England, and ultimately Manchester City were the first club to officially withdraw from the competition, and by the following morning just Juve, Barca and Real remained. Clubs made apologies and issued statements, but most fans haven't been so easy to forgive their billionaire owners. The ESL may not be going ahead, but it certainly seems to have given fans more of a voice following those hectic few days. 1. Return of fans. And speaking of the fans, well, what would football be without them? Due to the ongoing pandemic, fans have been almost entirely absent from stadiums since the sport resumed last summer. We've got used to artificial noise being pumped through the myriad of banners and tifos covering the thousands of empty seats we see on the screens every week. But those days are numbered, As the world slowly returns to something resembling normality, we've started to see supporters back where they belong. And in England, May the 17th was the date sporting events would open up to the public again. This meant that every Premier League club was able to host one match in the final week of the campaign open to their supporters. A total of 156,000 lucky fans in those last 2 match days could count themselves amongst some of the largest sports crowds seen in the UK since March 2020. Hopefully next season we will start to see stadiums full to the brim once more. There's even hope that the climax of Euro 2020 tournament at Wembley could see a full house of 90,000 people. Wouldn't that be very nice? So those are our top 10 moments of the season in the UK and abroad. Is there anything you think we've missed out? If so, let us know down in the comments below. As always, make sure you're liked and subscribed to Football Daily, and we look forward to seeing you next time.